Alright, hello you lovelies, let's talk all about that Star Wars Skeleton Crew Season 1 finale, and I'm hoping it was just a Season 1 finale, because I like that ending enough. I'd actually love to see a Season 2 out of this show. Please, if you're new to this page, hit that subscription bell. We are rapidly approaching 42k, and when we get to 50k, gonna be doing a 50 comic giveaway, because not only does this channel review TV shows and movies, but lots of comic book stuff as well. We literally break down all of my favorite comics every single week, giving you my 9 favorite comics of the 60 to 70 comics I read every single week. So that, plus movie reviews, plus this TV stuff, if any of that is your cup of tea, please hit that subscription bell. Also, press like on this video while you're at it, and most of all, let's have a conversation in the comments below. That is the magic of the internet. It's one big community where we can talk all about this nerd stuff. So let's talk all about the finale in the comments and right here. This finale was such a validating ending for a lot of the seeds planted throughout the season. I really personally wanted there to be a big aha twist. My theory had been this was going to be like a Princess Bride or Hook, wherein it was a children's story being told within the world of Star Wars. I had thought from the beginning that these kids were off on an adventure that was being narrated, and like the bad guy, Jude Law, was going to be like a hook bait and switch of one of the parents, that the parents' ineptitude was going to be basically, how kids perceive adults, and that giving it that Goonies flavor I thought was going to be a lot of fun. I actually am totally cool being completely wrong, because by the time you get to the end, you're so endeared to these kids, and there's enough rationale, enough suspension of disbelief that they're on this isolated planet that is basically a mint. It is a place printing money, printing credits for the galaxy, that they would probably be pretty sheltered. And I had forgotten that in the first episode, basically the system you're put into is what you're on a track for the rest of your life. And I knew that intellectually, but I didn't consider the ramifications of that, making it so you wouldn't have a lot of worldly experience. You might have smarts, but not street smarts. So a lot of their ineptitude is actually forgiven right there within the story, and it was just something I hadn't pieced together till this episode. And within this episode, there's a lot of amazing redemption moments. There's obviously some great, cool moments for the parents who have been very like, we don't have anything we can do, and they get their big moments here, especially the dad, which I had assumed by the plotting of this show we were going to get. I really had gotten to grow to like KB with that isolated episode, with that like fake out death. In that moment, I didn't have a lot of connection to the character personally, but by the time we get here, I didn't assume that character had died as a pilot. I thought that was pretty obviously going to be like the after everything comes together big, reuniting moment, but it worked. Like, even though I think one of the strengths of the show is that even though the beats are predictable, the emotional payoff is enough that you're sharing in those moments with your family. Like, I don't have any kids, but this is the exact kind of show you'd want to share in those familiar beats and comfort and experience of. So, we as adults know that KB is going to be fine, but it's really validating when there's all this action and stuff going on, and then you get that reuniting moment. And I also, speaking of the ending, really like this actual ending. It has that like triumphant reuniting, pan up to the sky, music swells, no denouement, no like how the world keeps going, and that feels very 80s 90s Amblin. It's really interesting how 80s and 90s movies would kind of just end. 80s movies often with a freeze frame, but things would just end. Now there's a lot of like denouement and what happens after, like after the concluding action. There's the like, how's the world like 1 year later, or even like the next day, piecing things together. This just ends, and I really like that for the tone of the show. It felt like a very conscious decision to keep it in this tone. Also really like some of the big payoff moments, like with SM33, Smee getting the comeback moment. I feel like all of the fandom that was enjoying the show was definitely struck when that robot was struck down. The droid was of immediate fan favorite and persisted throughout the series, and I felt like Smee had to come back, but SM33 getting that big pilot landing moment felt really validating. And most of all, I really liked that Disney let Jude Law's character, I think his name's Jude Law's character, stay a villain. I fully was, the first 5-6 episodes waiting for that, heel or hero turn. I was waiting for whichever was going to happen, and I didn't believe the owl. The owl told us from the jump, do not trust this man, and Jude Law was so charming that we kept wanting him to turn out good. We kept wanting that switch, whether it was going from this, gray area to hero or gray area to full-on bad guy, which these last 2 episodes, the full-on almost mustache swirling here was delightful. Beautiful to see Jude Law get to play such a character. I also really like that the Owl character came back. We got to see a beautiful firefight with X-Wing, and I think they're called A-Wings, and other ships that I recognize, but I'm not nearly as familiar with as other Star Wars lore. But one of the most beautiful things I think about Star Wars in the mythology is that the sound design is so iconic. Just hearing an X-Wing fly by, just hearing a lightsaber light up, and it was really cool in a new chapter in the universe to have all those familiar moments in one big climactic ending. We've gotten them throughout the show. The show's had lightsabers, the show's had X-Wings, but the end of this felt so purely Star Wars and so beautifully reminiscent of the original trilogy, so beautifully like the, New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi that I grew up on way back in the day. I'm not that old. I wasn't there for the original run, but those are the movies I watched as a kid growing up, and this felt like that to me. So I've said it from the beginning, even the episodes I didn't love as much, I've always said this is a great entryway point for a new generation to discover Star Wars. With this ending, I absolutely think it is, and that's why I want another season. I don't know how the show ended up faring. I know when it debuted, the ratings weren't that great. I heard it grew over the holiday, and I'm hoping it grew enough that they can rationalize a season 2 of this world, because I think there's tons more stories to tell. What happens now that the Mint is exposed to the world? What happens now that other, planets have access to this? How does this change everything? How does this change the parents' relationship to the worlds? How do they get to experience reality without this droid running them? Like, there's more to say on this particular planet and with these characters. So I'd love a season 2. A lot of places to go here. And I really especially like, for me personally, now that we're more than halfway into this video and people may have left because it's going to get me a lot of flack, as a huge fan of The Last Jedi, I love that the end of this and the description of who he was, Jude Law's character, feels like something akin to the end of The Last Jedi, where, that kid, that just random kid, we don't know him. He just is Force sensitive and summons the broom. That's how I've always seen Jedi. I don't like this hierarchy of a family name. Like, there's not a monarchy or a last name you have to be a Jedi. I've always felt like Jedi were capable to be anyone, and this is or at least Force sensitivity. Everyone has some of it. So having Jude Law be someone that a Jedi picked up and trained a bit, and then that Jedi was killed, that enriches the Jedi lore more to me than the cookie cutter other examples we've had. So I really dig that origin for Jude Law's character. I'd love to see more explored in that world. I really honestly think each of these kids could have not separate adventures, but another chapter of adventure. They've talked about the Goonies 2 forever. Now, obviously, everyone's an adult, but that kind of thing. This story has plenty of places to go. So for me, this was a really beautiful installment in the Star Wars mythology. I honestly wish it had come out before The Acolyte, because I feel like I didn't love The Acolyte. There were moments I enjoyed. Chimera, I really, really liked. The episode 5, I think it was, I really, really liked. But overall, the show wasn't my thing. It just didn't work for me. And I feel like that show gave a lot of the I want to be mad at Star Wars and claim it's coming from a place of fandom people a lot of fuel to the fire. And I feel like people are a little Star Warsed out because of the Acolyte discourse. Whether they like the show or not, it's an exhausting thing to discuss on the internet. So I wish this had come out because it's so pure and sweet and good. It would have been nice to have it, to be some positivity before all the aggressive negativity. And I feel like part of why this show hadn't done as well is because of the aggressive negativity of the Acolyte. Following that is, a smaller show that is skewed younger. So I hope this finds its audience, if it hasn't already. It might have, enough to warrant a season 2, because I do think it's something special, and I do think this could be something a la, Mandalorian, that could grow and become a bigger fandom. So yeah, had a great time with it. I'd love to know what you think in the comments below. Let's talk about the finale. Let's talk about the season overall. I definitely think it got better as it went. I really, the first couple episodes, you guys can watch all my reactions, was a bit worried. It really, peaked in the middle, and then it dipped a little bit, but then it really ended strong. So overall, had a great, experience in totality of Skeleton Crew. Also very glad it was weekly, because it was able to suspend some mystery and some excitement and some waiting week to week. It felt like event TV. So I really liked the way it was released to us, and I give it a nice B, like a BB minus. A very enjoyable, fun romp, and a beautiful entry point, to Star Wars in general. A beautiful entry point to fandoms and sci-fi and all that stuff for pretty much all ages, and that's really wonderful always when you can land that and make it all ages, not just young or adults. It's this beautiful all ages story. So I think the next show is going to be Andor Season 2 in the world of Star Wars. I will absolutely be covering that. So if you're interested in that, hit that subscription bell. The next show I'll be covering in general is going to be the new Spider-Man show. The Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man starts at the end of the month in January. In between now and then, you can check out a Wolfman review dropping tomorrow. A non-spoiler but full-length review for the Wolfman drops tomorrow morning. Also going to be doing a This Week in Comics, I believe, on Thursday, maybe as late as Friday. And then Spider-Man at the end of the month. Lots of stuff in between. So if you're into the world of Spider-Man or comics in general or movies or anything, hit that subscription bell if you like pop culture stuff. Also, like this video so the algorithm likes this video, and let's discuss the Skeleton Crew in the comments below. What did you think of the finale? What did you think of the series overall? Do you like how it ended? Let's have a conversation. I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for watching this journey. These videos have done pretty well on this page. And after, years of being afraid of the Star Wars fandom and then the Acolyte, I was a little leery. But you guys, as ever, are wonderful, so I appreciate you. Comment, like, subscribe. I'll see you guys soon. May the Force be with you.